We're talking about things that are days away. And let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers said he's not going to drag this thing out. He's going to try to let him know before these things come up. So that was at least the intention. So, Mike, I'm going to make you the Packers GM for the purposes of this segment, right? Aaron Rodgers says he wants out. What do you do? And do you keep him in the NFC?
Absolutely not. First of all, I'm going to beg, cajole, whatever I can to have him come back. By far the best chance to win. Assuming that doesn't happen, Aaron, you could play in the AFC or you could retire. We are not trading you to the NFC under any circumstances. So you let us know what you want to do, but that option is off the table.
Interesting. Completely. So what if he, look, what if he comes to you, because the whole point of this contract, right, was so that he would have some leverage. Right. He says, look, I get you, but you know what? It's where I want to be at the Saints. I want to be in the, wherever it may be. And he says, I've given you all these years in Green Bay, Mike. What do you say to that?
Say thank you very much, and you're under contract, and we're going to try to work together as a partnership, but it matters for us where you go. We're not going to compete against you. You're not going to prevent us from going to the Super Bowl, so that is off the table. We had a situation with Brett Favre a decade ago where after his season, it was clear he wanted to go to the NFC, so we were able to work that out. We were not going to let Brett Favre walk out our door at the Jets and go play in the AFC. It was not going to happen. So, look, you could retire. It's not ideal for us. We'll work around the salary cap, but I promise you, you will not play in the NFC this year if you're not a Packer.
Wow, hard line. Sam, what do you think the path is for Rodgers to a championship in the AFC if, in fact, he's sent there?
I don't think there's a path for Aaron Rodgers for a championship in the AFC. I think he should stay in Green Bay. To Mike T's point, I don't think it is even a partnership. I think it's Aaron Rodgers making his own decision. And we saw this last year in June and July, even going up to August. It was Aaron Rodgers' decision. And he put the team and him pretty much saying, y'all either get on my train or I'm getting off. And so what I see is Aaron Rodgers needs to stay in Green Bay. I think he can win the division. You've got 3 first-year coaches, either brand new coaches or coaches going in their first year, and then find a way to get it done, right? We're not rebuilding. We are going to win this division in the NFC.
Okay. But, Dan, I think when people think about Aaron Rodgers, they think, you know what? At this point, he can go wherever he wants to go. Mike's saying he would take a hard line if he was the GM, but how does his contract, the specifics of it, when they crafted this, inform what might happen here?
Remember, they adjusted the contract last summer to get him to show up at camp. And the key adjustment was it expires, it voids after the 2022 season. But because of the adjustment they made, his cap number, if he stays on the team, is over $46 million. So that's untenable for the Packers. If he decides he wants to come back, they can restructure that contract. They can extend him out, lower that cap hit. But if he decides he doesn't want to come back to the Packers and he refuses to do a restructure or an extension, which is his right, then they'll have to trade him because there's no way for them to fit that number under their cap and still have a representative team around it.
Wow, see, that's key. They have to trade him. But, Mike, you're going to send him to the AFC, but he comes to you and says, I'm not going to the AFC.
And, look, it's not ideal, but we could work around that. So we have enough levers to pull, which aren't great. You could cut Preston Smith. You could redo Zadarius Smith's contract. He could put a lot of pressure on them, no question about it. They could survive it until June 2nd. They wouldn't have a great team for a year. But, again, by no means, if I'm the Packers, am I going to trade him to the Saints or anybody else in the NFC. And if you want to play football, you're going to have to be comfortable with that.
And just so people understand, right, that June 2nd date is the point at which they could release him or put him on the reserve retired list and spread the cap hit out over this year and next year, as opposed to taking the whole thing this year.
And that's not unprecedented. Look for Tampa Bay to do something very similar with Tom Brady. When you get in these situations, you want to spread those cap charges over 2 years. That's why June 2nd is so consequential.
But what I'm hearing
they can't get the relief from that move until June. So they'd have to carry the whole number until June 2nd.
So they'd have to carry it until June 2nd.
Through free agency, through all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so Sacho, you think his best bet, if he doesn't want to be in Green Bay, where is his best bet for you?
I think his best bet is to be in Green Bay, right? I'm very much like choose A or don't choose anything at all, right? Like I'm not like, well, like second option or third. No, I think you should stay in Green Bay. I think that I just think that sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Yes, we saw it with Matthew Stafford. He went to LA and won a Super Bowl. We also saw it with Tom Brady. Those are 2 great examples, but it doesn't always work that way. I think Denver is a different situation. You're going to be with a different defense, with a different team, a new coordinator on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to be going going up, as we talked about, against some of the best quarterbacks in the AFC, which I don't think Aaron Rodgers is scared about, but he also has to understand his defenses have to play too. His defenses have to stop Patrick Mahomes as well. His defenses have to stop the LA Chargers. That's what we're not talking about. And so I think that staying in Green Bay is the place to be.
Okay, lobbying hard to keep him in Green Bay. We'll see how this plays out.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.